All right, so when I hit the button again, so on the Chevy I hit it, it runs through, it tells you the lights it's going to check. This one, I keep hitting the button, does nothing. Whether that's a glitch, there's nothing else you can do other than hit it. So tried unplugging the wires, everything like that, still not doing anything different. So we're going to check all of these lights independently. All right, so once in here again, guys, we did shut off the rear parking assist just because that is annoying while we're trying to back up. We'll click tow haul mode and exhaust brake. And it's up to you how you want to use it. Chevy gives you a one-stage one, Ram and Ford give you an auto and a full. So I run it on full. Now again, once you guys get in here, you'll see our exhaust brake symbol on there. You can have whatever you want. I'm trying to get it back to the DPF summary, but you can have your gauge set there if you want. Again, we will have it over here, so I'm gonna leave it up that way because I just want to watch the fuel. But it is interesting, the DPF is about half full again, which, you know, again, just drove 187 miles, so just even driving at highway speeds was not enough to clean that bad boy out. So as it comes to the mirrors, so these mirrors stick out wide enough, you don't need to extend them, guys. However, the way the new Ram is, from last year in 23, they upgraded these mirrors. So we have a spotter lamp here for backing up in the campground, or if we need extra light. We have a power convex, which is nice. It is also heated. And then we have the upper auto dimming mirror right here. If we need to, we can come down here to the door. There is a switch here. We push that, it illuminates. Then you push the actual mirrors out if you need it. I'm gonna play with it in because I think they do plenty fine in, but they are nice looking, attractive mirrors on this rig. Let's go ahead and get this bad boy pulled out. All right, guys, so we are going to get rolling. Again, this is not Tess, our other fifth wheel, which is a 1997 Travel Supreme, which that trailer is a little bit heavier than this one. However, this is more than what most people are towing these days. We have the big, huge guy in there, my mom and my dad's fifth wheel, which is about an 18,000 pound trailer. Now, to put it in context, the Beast of the East challenge that we did last year brought out the 7.3 Godzilla and the 6.6 LAT Chevy gassers. Both of those trucks pulled Tess, the little fifth wheel, and the big guy just fine. So today we're going to be bucking a little bit of wind as we go southbound towards Burlington, Colorado. And we are just gonna monitor everything and see how it goes. I do have my decibel reader. We'll see how much the Cummins growls, as it does growl louder than the Chevy gasser. However, the Godzilla always had a nice little V8 rumble to it. Not a deal breaker again, guys, for me. Just one thing to note. All right, so the 2024 Ram 3500 is a very quiet truck inside. However, the Cummins engine does rumble, the Hemi does rumble. So as we get going here, the typical sound inside the actual cab, engine running under no load, is about 55 decibels. That's very reasonable, guys, for a big truck. Again, none of the trucks are loud by any means. However, a lot of people said that the gas engine would rev substantially higher and be way louder than the diesel. I don't know about that. I would say the Godzilla did have a great rumble to it, but it was not obscene, nor was it obnoxious. All right, guys, we are rolling southbound out of here. We are not going to hit those 5-6% grades out here for a few miles, but we're just going to get an overall feel so we can see our boost gauge down there is rolling, and then we have the vehicle under load trying to get us up to speed. We'll check the sound. So around 70 decibels. It bounces back and forth again, guys. We are picking up some road noise with the Firestone tires. But we will get going here. Again, we'll check brake application stuff. The Cummins has the best exhaust brake. And we can see that back pressure gauge right there going up. And you can actually spool back here to the actual back pressure gauge if we want to see it in bigger real-time data. So there's our boost pressure. All right, so we got our exhaust brake up here. We'll put that in here. just getting it going again from traffic. We're gonna reset fuel and we'll get a vibe for that. All right guys, so I'm gonna pan over here. So I turned these to the off-road gauges just so you can see the contrast, but we do have numerical data there on all the important points that we're interested in. We got the fuel economy reset for this run, and we'll see. I'm really interested to see if pulling just this amount of weight is enough to get that DPF to cook off. About 500 miles in, it needed a regen. Now I gave it some respect to the fact that they were probably idling this thing at the rail yard, at the dealership, whatever, PDIing it, getting it ready. So I figured, hey, maybe it needs to do a regen like that. However, we're almost about halfway full again, and I've done mostly highway driving in that other 500 miles because I said we're about at 1,000 now. So we're gonna crest a couple hills here in a second, and we'll get to climbing. Now I want to talk on something a while back when somebody was looking at both the Ford Godzilla and the Chevy LAT, and they were noticing the tachometer and how it is revving up. Now keep in mind, those engines are made to create their power up in the 45,000 range. The Cummins diesel has a 3,000 or like a 3,100 red line, so getting it up to 65 back there on the flat, it got close to the 3,000 if you're going to dig into it. So when people say, well, I don't want to hear the engine revving, well, just pick your poison. All of them are going to rev to get to their power bands however they need to and work with that. So I don't feel that this having a 6-speed versus a 10-speed is lacking. I've had the 68 RFE, I've had the ASIN. I don't think it's lacking. I think it gets the job done just fine. However, I did enjoy the Allison in the Chevy Gasser because it almost always acted like it had kind of like that grade braking just so well with the transmission. But we'll keep seeing how this one does, guys. All right, guys, so again, we have our gear indicator on down here, so it will tell us what gear we're in. We are about ready to go down a hill. I am setting the cruise at the 65, and we're gonna just see how she does here. Again, I will mitigate my own speed because of the wind and curves and stuff if needed. So that'd be the only time we're gonna deactivate cruise. We'll see how many brake applications, because the Godzilla on a few hills, sometimes it felt like you needed a little bit more brake applications, although the brakes didn't heat up as much as the Chevys did, even though the Chevy had less brake applications. So, but should see the exhaust brake here kick on in a second because it's gonna eke up a little bit. And again, this is the benefit to having the diesel. Yeah, they're all powerful, whether they're gas or diesel. So now it kept us in check with the gear, with the exhaust brake didn't even kick on. So I guess it's going to hold us just fine at that 65, 66 mark, which the speed limit out here is 65. All right, so now that we're at the bottom of that, 0 brake applications held us right at 65, nothing. So now we're going to see how this bad boy works going up this hill. So right up at that 3,000 mark, and it kicked us back down. Interesting though, the LAT pulling a heavier trailer. Now mind you, the Beast in the East was with the 18,000 pound trailer. It kept us at 65 with the cruise control activated. So whether that's a cruise control activation thing through RAM or that's just a transmission thing, it let us get dipped all the way down to 60. So very interesting with that. Again, decibels under load are right around the 71 mark. So keeping in mind, they say 80 decibels, somebody yelling or like the sound of a roar of a jet engine from a distance. So I mean, I would say that it's plenty pleasant here. Again, in this test, we are going against a little bit of wind, but if I remember right, the Ford had some wind when we ran the Godzilla out. I will talk about my impressions of how the truck handles at the end of this video and kind of put it into context of the other two. What I will say right now is I've had tons of Cummins diesels and I've had lots of gas engines, but until I bought the Godzilla and bought the L8T, I thought diesel was the only way to go, period. Only way to go. But I'm telling you, these gas engines are just so good that it just blows my mind how well they did, especially because we're towing a lighter trailer with a 1-ton diesel. So we're gonna go down this over here, and you can see the long-winded grind up that hill over there. But these gas engines just do so well anymore that really, until you're getting up in the 20,000 pound range, which the Godzilla and the Chevy are in GMC are almost right there, I'm still not feeling it, guys. I mean, I'm not saying that this Cummins diesel isn't a great truck and the exhaust brake is fantastic, but I mean, this truck is supposed to be 90 G's, and right now I feel that the Godzilla definitely did better than that, but the L8T Chevy did phenomenal over those 12,000 miles. Now, if you're watching the most recent video before I made this one, I posted the other day that this one already has a leak in the all right, guys, so we are on our way back. So far so good. I mean, no real big issues there. Our temps are still just fine. We're about ready to go over a hill and down. We'll see how all of this works together down here. See if it kicks on the exhaust brake more. So we're gonna see here if it engages the exhaust brake on this hill. So it's letting us get almost to 70 here. Exhaust brake is not engaging at all, but it's starting to slow us down. So pretty interesting there. It's not running away from itself even with no exhaust brake engagement. Now if I wasn't using cruise control and I let off the throttle in the Ram, the exhaust brake automatically engages. So yeah, very interesting. So now we're up to 70. Okay, so we have some engagement there at the exhaust brake. And it tells you how many braking horsepower, but it kicks off pretty quick. I mean, it grabbed us and slowed us right down. So very, very happy with that. That control is excellent. So very good there. All right, guys, so we are back. I got this thing backed in. Trans temp really never got above 165. So, I mean, that was really good. All my other temps stayed excellent. Very much like the Chevy in that regard. So fuel economy over that run was 9.3 miles a gallon. All right, guys, so we have it parked back in here with our little lady Tess and then the big guy from last year. Got everything unhooked. Let's talk turkey. All right, so driving impressions of the Ram Cummins diesel, or let's just put it in perspective. The Ram Cummins diesel is going to be heavier than a Ram HD with the gasser, period. Weight helps you when you're towing for stability, keeping, you know, the front end and everything kind of locked down. But I got to tell you this much, guys. Of the three, whether it's a gas or a diesel or whatnot, the Ram was almost as washy, like light in the front end as the Ford. With the Chevy, which would be the GMC counterpart, when those trucks were driving, the steering felt light and easy, it locked into the road. When I hooked any of these trailers, literally the Kong towed all three, the biggest one and the two in between, and it was just locked in. Like, it felt like the more I put on it, the more it wanted to work, and I was very pleased with that. I found with the wind that this thing was kind of washy around the road. Not overly pleased with that. Lighten it up, putting a Hemi in it, take all the after treatment stuff out, all the heavy diesel engine, and I can only imagine that would be worse. Now, for guys that are driving Rams, you're gonna say, well, I'm not sure my truck feels stable. It's fine, it'll get the job done. But go drive a Chevy and forget about anything else, but just think about control. Overall control, how stable does that truck feel? Now the Chevy may be a little bit wider, obviously it's probably a little bit longer, but it just felt more stable. So when I look at a towing truck, I look at, does it have stability? How is the brakes? How does the transmission work? And then at the end of the day, power. Again, you can only go so fast, so people are racing Bugattis with the thing and taking it on the track, that's neat and all, but at the end of the day, towing needs those things for me as a truck driver. And I will say that the Ram was fine. It wasn't great, it wasn't mind-blowing, it didn't just make me say, wow, it's so great to have a diesel again. The fuel economy, normally driving empty in this thing, is actually really good. It's up in the 18.5 mark, in between 18.5 and 20. At the speed limit, 75 or less. Towing speed limit using cruise control in this, towing this light guy, not even the big guy. The Beast in the East challenge was the 18,000 pound trailer, guys, the 18,000. So I want you to put that in the back of your mind and think, wow, this was not any better than the Gasser. If not, it was a little worse. And people will say, well, it wasn't broke in. Well, neither was the Chevy Gasser. It had maybe 490 miles on it when it did that challenge last year. So I'll give the Ram, I love the mirrors. The mirrors do good. The engine noise and stuff inside the truck, it's a good sounding engine, and it's quiet enough inside the cab. Overall ride control, I'm going to give this a pretty moderate, if at best. It's up there with the Fords. The Ford actually sags the most, but when you put Timbrins on it, the Ford actually felt more stable than the Ram did going down the road. Fuel economy, it's just average. It's not mind-blowing. If you're going to be going up and down the mountains every single day, towing up in this upper range of 15, 12, 13, 14, 15 plus, whatever, the exhaust brake on the Cummins is the best in the industry, period. And so that right there is the one thing that makes this, the Cummins engine is outstanding. It's a grunter, it's a worker, go get it. But other than that, those would be the highlights for me. Is the cameras on the Ram are fantastic for hooking up, doing like that. The light test, I don't know if the Uconnect 5 has some type of funkiness in it. There's another thing where I try and change the presets, but it only goes like 2 stations and reverts back to the beginning one. So I don't know what's going on with that. Exhaust brake, mirrors, and are excellent on the truck. The Cummins is excellent. Fuel economy, average. So nothing mind-numbing there, guys. Again, we're talking a $9,000, $10,000 price tag for this diesel engine. If you're towing out there, again, Kong did just fine. And even though it had that janky little brake indicator on it, over 12,000 miles of towing, it was still at 94% on your brakes. So even though we were probably using them more because it didn't have an exhaust brake, it really wasn't like, wow, with the gas, you're going to be always hitting the brakes. I just don't think so, guys. I just don't see it. And so I will tell you that some of the biggest pitfalls is low stability with the Ram. Even being a 1-ton, it squatted. The Chevy didn't squat. With really the 18,000 pound trailer, it did come down a little bit, but it was still, the stability was just fantastic. Out of a gas engine, I think if I remember right, it got like 10 or 11, something like that, 11.8. The Ford got 11.8 with a gasser. So right now, diesel is about 50, 60 cents more a gallon, so keep that in mind. So am I blown away with the 2024 Ram 3500 Cummins diesel? The more I have it, I am less amused than I ever have been. I feel like my 16 I did better, and I see where a lot of guys that have Rams go ahead and go to the dually because in the Chevy, without the dually, it feels plenty stable. I couldn't imagine a dually. It'd probably feel like a Sherman tank going down the road. But when I stepped to my Mega Cab dually, I could tell the quality, because this is not my first 3500 Ram single wheel. I had a 15, I think it was, or a 14, and I upgraded to the Mega Cab dually, and the stability changed night and day. But dually's not going to be for everyone, guys. So my honest opinion is I was expecting just so much more. It had plenty of power to go up these hills, but it really wasn't like crazy great. The fuel economy wasn't crazy great. Exhaust brake, fantastic, but you don't tow in the mountains every day. That ride quality was wonky, man. I went around a few curves and it was wobbly. It was wobbly. And I've upgraded the pressure in my tires. I run those at about 70. I wasn't amused here, guys. So we'll keep pushing Ironhide 3 and see how he does and everything like that. But so far, the Beast of the East Challenge, both gas or trucks from the other manufacturers did better as far as my concern. And I'm definitely glad, I'm not knocking the Hemi, I'm glad I didn't get the Hemi. I just couldn't imagine that truck at all, totally. So, all right, guys, if you don't mind, hit the subscribe button down there for me. Give me a thumbs up at the end of the video, and we will see you on the next one.